Hello, and welcome back to Q-Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and we are back once again to bring you some super awesome things to watch this weekend on streaming. And we're just going to jump right into it, and I'll kick this to Paul.
Well, I thank you, Renee. Yeah, speaking of super awesome things, how about super tiny things? Things that are so tiny you can't even see them. Maybe things that may or may not even be there. I'm talking about Bug from 2006. This is by writer Tracy Letts, based on his stage play, and directed by William Friedkin. It is currently playing on HBO Max and DirecTV. It stars Ashley Judd as a young single mom, though her son has disappeared a couple years ago, I think. And her ex husband, who's abusive, has just gotten out of prison. He's played by Harry Connick Jr. He's got a smaller role in it. But she basically hooks up with Michael Shannon, who is um, I guess he's military or ex-military. It's kind of a little open, and he kind of tells her about these bugs that the military implanted in him. And we're not talking about the little electronic bugs that listen. We're talking about little tiny bugs so small that you like insect bugs, perhaps. Maybe. Are they there? I don't know. Can you see them? Maybe. Perhaps. I don't know. Most of it actually takes, since it's based on a stage play, most of it takes place in a motel room. But it's done really well. It's really and I wouldn't say fun, because it's certainly not fun, a exercise in paranoia and conspiracies, and it's really about two really damaged people, and probably not the healthiest of relationships. In fact, it actually had an F cinema score when it came out, so you can have a feeling it might not have the happiest of endings, but it's really well done. It's a really interesting, effective, disturbing portrait of two damaged individuals that may or may not have little tiny bugs that are implanted in them. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I guess you have to watch to find out. So, speaking of paranoia and having bugs implanted under your skin, I'll pass this to Zach.
Well, thanks, Paul. And just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get me. I'm just kidding. They're not out to get me. I'm probably not worth bugging. I will say just one note on that.
Don't sell yourself short. You're definitely worth
Oh,
bugging.
I mean, I guess I can dream. I guess I can have aspirations. Probably one of the worst marketed films in the history of films.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the reasons why I think it got the F cinema score. It was basically marketed as a horror film, and it is definitely not a horror film. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's horrific aspects of it, I guess, but it's not. Yeah, it's
yes,
not at all what they sold it as. That is for certain.
yeah. So I will second that. It's actually been a long time, so maybe I'll go back and check that out this weekend because it's been a while since I watched that movie, but it's one of those movies that kind of stuck with me. When was it released? Did you say 2008?
2006, and
2006. There you go.
Michael Shannon, who wasn't as big a name back then, he had done a bunch of stuff, but he wasn't really a household name. He had played the part on stage, and so they really fought to have him. The studio wanted somebody with a bigger name, and they fought to keep him in the film because they liked his performance. So
Yeah, it's good stuff. I definitely recommend it. However, like you mentioned, it's not the most upbeat stuff. So maybe my first recommendation can be a bit of a chaser to Bug. Because my first recommendation, everyone's talking about the multiverse these days. You've got Everything Everywhere All at Once, huge indie film. You've got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, huge big budget Hollywood film. You've got multiple Spider-Men running around all over the place. But you know what? I think I've had enough of the multiverse. Instead, I want to introduce you to the Miyagi verse. Now, if I say that name, you probably, even if you haven't seen the movie, you probably immediately know what I'm talking about. And my recommendation, though, is something that you may not expect because it's actually a TV show, which, if you're not aware, a couple of years ago, YouTube and now Netflix had a continuation of the Karate Kid story in the form of Cobra Kai. This is a series that picks up kind of where the original films left off. And by that, it means they brought back all of the original actors. Like, it's freaking amazing. Not only do they have Ralph Macchio reprising his role as Daniel LaRusso, You also got William Zabka reprising his role as Johnny Lawrence. And if you've seen those films, or if you know anything about those films, even if the name's not familiar, Johnny Lawrence is the guy that gets crane kicked in the face at the end of Karate Kid Part 1. So basically, he hasn't let go of that moment in the 35 years, and he's kind of a washed up old dude, and let's just say he decides to kind of relive some of his former glory and restart the Cobra Kai dojo, and Ralph Macchio gets wind of it, and or I should say Daniel LaRusso gets wind of it, Daniel-san, and let's just say he has other plans. So you might be saying, some people, especially younger people, might be saying, I've heard of Karate Kid, never seen Karate Kid, never seen any of the Karate Kid quadrilogy. Here's the thing, though. Neither had I. I started watching this show last week, okay, just on a whim. I got through season 1 on Friday night, and since then I've watched all 4 seasons that are currently playing on Netflix. So I cannot over-recommend this show. It's basically a soap opera with karate and washed-up old dudes who still got some moves. And it's amazing. I don't know why this show is so good, but it is addicting. And it's a great time to pick it up now because, season 5 is coming out next month. So catch up now, and you'll be all ready to binge the new season that's coming up. So I was hoping that I would go first so that I could say, speaking of old dudes who still got some moves, but I can't use that transition now. So let's just say, speaking of people who kick ass, Renee, do you want to give us your first recommendation?
Oh, that's so nice. Now, next time, you better just tell me in advance, because I would definitely call on you first for a zinger. So,
Hey.
Well, look, I'm not going to say anything, Renee. I haven't said anything. But since you took over main hosting duties, you have literally always thrown it to Paul, and I've just been waiting to see when you break that. That's fine.
I have not, have I?
You have. Go back and listen.
And it throws me off because I used to always go last.
Oh. Now I feel bad. I'm so sorry. Next week I'm thrown to Zach. See, now I wonder if it's because I mentally think to myself, I don't know why I always feel like I throw it to other people. Because I knew last week I threw it to you because I thought I hadn't thrown it to you in a long time. But this week I threw it to you. No, I have to explain myself. This week I threw it to you because Zach is tired and I wanted to give him a few more minutes.
No, okay, but
all right.
I actually the reason I'm tired, I gotta say, the reason I'm tired, and don't edit this out because this is very important. The reason I'm tired is because I stayed up late last night finishing season 4 of Cobra Kai. I'm not kidding. That's not a joke. I've been watching Cobra Kai all weekend. So
oh my god,
there you go.
Oh wow. I need to get back to it. I watched the first season, really liked it, and then for some reason I didn't continue on. So because I'm a slacker, so I need to.
Is it because it brought up memories of being bullied by karate kids in high school?
No.
So what you're saying
Sorry.
is you've repressed those memories.
Yes. No. Yes.
Okay.
No. Wait. I don't know.
Hey Renee,
Sweep the
when
leg.
people are done watching Cobra Kai, what should they be watching? What else should they be watching this weekend?
Well, I've got something a little different for you. I'm bringing you a little science fiction with a twist of drama. This movie is about finding love and finding faith. And this movie is Contact. And you can watch it. You can watch it on Tubi. Oh my gosh. This movie stars, oh my gosh, there's so many people in this movie. I kind of forgot how many people were in this movie. Has Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey, James Woods playing himself, John Hurt, Tom Skerritt, Angela Bassett, just a lot of people. So Jodie Foster is a radio astronomer, and she has just been, ever since she was a little kid, has been trying to contact the aliens. And it's sort of like that SETI project. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So people would get these noises that come in and they would filter them, kind of run these through these processes and just basically try to find some noise or frequency or something that came from somewhere that I guess they couldn't discern. Yeah. So she's been doing this. She finally got a signal, and it's basically the journey that she takes. Just her scientific journey, her spiritual journey, her her emotional and mental journey. Yeah, so this movie is Contact, and you can watch it on Tubi. And I'm going to switch it up and pass it over to Zach.
Woo!
Is that even legal?
Yeah, we can do it. We can do whatever we want.
Well, that's good. That's good because I have a kind of a very tenuous transition here.
Yes.
Did you mention James Woods in Contact? You know what else?
Himself.
You know what other movie James Woods was in? A little movie called
shit!
John. No, I haven't seen that, but I don't know. I don't know if he was in that.
I forgot one of the most important parts of Contact.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
It says Jake Busey.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised he didn't mention Jake Busey.
Oh, and it all comes back to Gary Busey. So, yeah.
But yeah, you know what other movie James Woods was in? A little movie.
No, what
movie called John Carpenter's Vampires in 1998. And you know who played the lead vampire in John Carpenter's Vampires, I should say. Actor by the name of Thomas Ian Griffith. Now that's coincidental because you know what else Thomas Ian Griffith was in? Yes, that's right, folks. He was the main villain in The Karate Kid Part 3. And I was actually, for my second recommendation, I was going to recommend all of the Karate Kid movies because I'm not kidding. I said you don't have to watch these movies to enjoy the show, and you don't. But I enjoyed the first season so much of Cobra Kai, I went back and watched all 4 movies before I watched the second season. That's right. In the past week, I've watched 4 seasons of Cobra Kai and 4 Karate Kid movies.
Oh my
God.
God.
And it's great, though, because they are really bringing back, like, some of the random-ass characters. They not just the characters, but they're bringing back, like, the actors that played them 35 years later. It's amazing. And let's just say, they're not all great movies, but they're almost worth watching just because I love Cobra Kai so much. If you love it as much as I do, it adds to the flavor of that show and kind of understanding the history. So unfortunately, I can't really recommend these movies because I don't think they're actually streaming anywhere. The only one that I could find that's streaming anywhere is the next Karate Kid, aka Karate Kid Part 4, aka the one Karate Kid without Ralph Macchio, which is apparently streaming on Netflix. So I guess you could go watch that, but Hilary Swank has not showed up on Cobra Kai as of yet. Here's hoping. So I don't know. Go find those movies somewhere. Go to a friend's house, stumble upon them somewhere in the dark depths of the internet. I don't know. I'm just gonna say it's so good. It's so good that like how they tie these in. Like let me just put it this way, okay? The Cobra Kai is what Disney wishes they could do with the Star Wars TV shows. I'm not kidding.
Oh.
Like you go back and just some of the callbacks and some of the just the drama of and some of the baggage that some of these characters carry with them and some of the characters that they bring back. It's just incredible. Again, this is a very goofy show. Somehow it's very, very powerful. Okay, but I'm going to stop talking about Cobra Kai for a minute and Karate Kid. Go watch those movies. So instead, I guess I'm going to do a replacement second recommendation. My actual recommendation is going to be a bit of another legacy sequel, although it doesn't actually have any of the actors from the original film. But I don't know if you guys have watched this yet, but there is a new Predator film out on Hulu just this past weekend. It is called Prey, appropriately enough. And let's just say they go back. It's a prequel of sorts. They go back before the original Predator. They go back, I guess, a little over like 250 years back, because we are back on the Great Plains in the 18th century, and the Predator is stalking the lands, and he is faced down by a group of members of the Comanche tribe and a bunch of French trappers, and it's a pretty violent film. It's amazing because there aren't any high-tech guns or anything, but they still find a way to make the action pretty violent. But yeah, it's I was very surprised. I was not expecting it to be great. I was not sold on the premise, but it is, like, with all due respect to Gary Busey vehicle Predator 2, I think Prey is actually the best Predator sequel / prequel out of all of them now. So my second recommendation, Prey. It's on Hulu. I loved it. I thought it was a really well-made film, but it's also a very intense film. And speaking of not having seen previous, prior art, so to speak, watched it with my girlfriend who said, what's a predator? But even she enjoyed it. She had no context for what was going on, but she thought it was fun. So I guess that's the stamp of a quality film when a spectrum of people can enjoy it. And speaking of classics that are coming back in style, Paul, what's your second pick for this weekend?
I thought you were going to say, speaking of being on the spectrum.
Boy.
My original theme, I said it was little things that are so tiny. Well, imagine being so tiny, being shrunk down, as it were. So tiny someone couldn't see you, could be injected into a body. Yes, we're talking Fantastic Voyage from 1966. Currently playing on HBO Max and DirecTV. It's directed by Richard Fleischer. And it stars Stephen Boyd, Raquel Welch, Edmund O'Brien, Donald Pleasance, Arthur O'Connell, Arthur Kennedy. And basically, this is the classic film where they can shrink people, and they shrink them down and inject them into a scientist who they've got the technology to shrink people down, but they can only keep them shrunk for an hour. And this scientist has the secret to keeping it turn longer, but the other side, the Russians, it's 1966, come on, managed to kind of semi-take him out. So the only way they can fix the damage in his brain is by shrinking down microscopic size and putting him in a sub called the Proteus and going into his body and exploring his body and going to the brain and fixing it. The science is terrible. Isaac Asimov had to write the novelization, and I think it just hurt him. So years later, I think it was like the 1980s, he wrote a novelization he called Fantastic Voyage 2, which was basically the same story, but he put better science in it, as it were. But it's super fun. It's the effects, it's 1966. Some of them don't hold up. Some of them are still pretty amazing because they have these just massive, amazing sets inside the body, and it's just really fun. It's real. There's some tension going on because Stephen Boyd is, even though he's a Navy frogman, that's why they brought him on board. He's also like an intelligence agent, and he's there because they suspect that there may be an assassin on the team. And so he's got to kind of keep an eye on, make sure the scientist isn't assassinated from the inside. Just really fun stuff. Great adventure. Neat visuals. You kind of have to turn your brain off. You're like, well, wait, if they don't get certain things out in time, wouldn't those just expand and then just explode out of this guy's body? Don't think about that. But it's great. There are also two actors in there that you wouldn't even recognize. I didn't know they were in it for years till I saw it on IMDb. There's a very young James Brolin as a technician that I think I saw. Like, I was like, I guess that was him. And then one of the doctors, who has a mask on so you wouldn't know anyway, is James Doohan right before he starts his stint as Scotty on Star Trek. So,
oh wow,
yeah, fun movie, Fantastic Voyage, 1966, HBO Max, DirecTV, and I think this goes back. Speaking of being fantastic, see, it threw me off because of the order. Speaking of being fantastic, I will pass this to Renee.
Well, thanks. This episode's working out great for me. So I know that you guys were probably pretty disappointed that I didn't have a horror movie or a shark movie to recommend for you with the last recommendation. Well, good news, because I have one now. This movie
Yay!
Exactly. This movie is called Bloodbite. You might also have to find it under the name Horror Shark. It is available on Tubi, and it has some English dubs. The dubs are quite entertaining. So this movie is about a great white, scientists that inject a great white shark with this drug. It basically mutates this shark into a bloodthirsty monster, and it's almost, it's like a hint of Deep Blue Sea because it gets smarter too. It's just a whole lot of stuff that you really shouldn't be messing around with sharks. It's a lesson you should learn. Anyway, this movie is ridiculous. It's a lot of fun, and if you just want to have like a laugh and watch a goofy, fun shark movie, I would recommend it. Again, this movie is called Blood Bite, also known as Horror Shark, and it's available on Tubi. And
I'll second that. I'll second that recommendation.
woohoo! I think even my nephews somewhat enjoyed it, or at least they pretended to for our sake. So hey, how about that? Anyway, so I think that's all we have. Does anyone have a song to sing us out with?
Zach, I don't want to step on you this time. Do you have a song?
No, it's fine. I'll spare you.
Oh, okay. Renee, do you?
No.
Well, I just so happen to have a song. My last film was Fantastic Voyage, so that's right. I'm doing Fantastic Voyage by Lakeside from 1981. Here we go. Come along and ride on a fantastic voyage. I'm the captain of this vessel. We want to take you on a cruise.
For the weekend of August 10th, Paul recommended Bug on HBO Max and Fantastic Voyage, available on HBO Max, Max Go, and DirecTV. Zachary recommended Cobra Kai, available on Netflix, and Prey, available on Hulu. I recommended Contact, available on Tubi, and Blood Bite, aka Horror Shark, also available on Tubi.